Hello, everybody. We are back and streaming. So, let's open everything up and go ahead and get started. I'll cd into our Quasar Getting Started project. Now, I want to open up my folder as well that I have related to this, which is sitting in Getting Started. And I believe we are still at the Vuex store, but it looks like this might almost be done. Now, one thing I did in the last video, which I'll continue on now, is I got rid of the concept of removing inside of our store. So we got fetching. I should probably get rid of creating as well and just put that on the local component. So fetching will be the only one that is set globally. So how about this? Let's say Quasar dev, and now we got a little bit of work to do to get rid of those. So let's make that happen. So we'll get rid of creating and removing. And we can look for that in actions. So that'll be like set creating. There it is there. We can get rid of both of those. And also set removing. Cool. All right, so that's that. Let's go into the getters. We got creating and removing. Not using those anymore. Mutation, set removing, and set creating we can also get rid of. Nice. All right, I think that's pretty much it. Do I need to have that opened? Probably just close that up. Yeah, there we go. Let's open this in our browser. And that just appeared on my other screen, so I'll have to bring it over here so you can see it. And we can go ahead and start developing. So the next thing I want to do is add that creating functionality back in. So let's go to the create list button. Yeah, here we go. Here we're saying creating to-do list by mapping getters there. So we'll have to get rid of that now. We can probably get rid of computed entirely. Get rid of that map getters. And then here we go. We can then say this dot creating is equal to true here. And then we'll set it equal to false when that's done. Sweet. So now we can come up here. Creating, which is equal to false by default. And then we can just use it here and here as well. So that should be working now. Let's have a look and see if we still get that spinner. And we do. All right, very nice. That's perfect. Cool. What else? So the other one was removing, but I think I got rid of that. But did I get rid of it everywhere? Let's have a look. Might look in the entire project. Let's look for remove. No, it's removing. Any occurrence of that. Yeah, here we go. We've got it here as well. But it looks like it's correct here because it's not sitting within the store anymore. All right, so I'm happy with that. Moving on. I think that will be it. So it's a little bit of code, but I think it's I think it'll be fine for teaching the store. I'm basically just going to show the list section. And I'm not going to show this section until later on in the series, just so we can move on from teaching the store to teaching other stuff. Yeah. Or maybe I could show people that I use Vuex ORM. No, that's overkill. I want to keep this specific to Quasar. Okay, so now that that's done, what else can we do? Let's go into getting started. Jumping out to do here. So we're going to we've already covered directives. We've got Vuex. Did I add the directives folder? Yep, there it is, Vuex. The next thing will be typography. So let's have a look at some things that we can play around with typography. I'll put in here, let's make that 6 typography. There we go. Oh, thought I said 6 there. I guess I didn't. Oh, looks like these have fallen out of order. So we've got plugins. What comes after plugins? Boot files. So boot files should be 6. There we go. Directives will be 7. Let's change that. And then typography will actually be 8. There we go. Nice, we're making good progress. So let's jump into the docs and have a look at what we've got with typography. What am I doing here? Quasar dev. I should start using the Quinn plugin actually. Let's get out of that. Except I don't think it uses the new version of Quasar. So let's just click here though and see. Yeah, typography. I think it still uses the old version of Quasar. Yeah, that's fine. All right, let's go to quasar.dev and open this in V2 beta. And now let's search here for typography and find that section. All right, so we've got headings. That's definitely something that we will cover. So I can close this now because I know that I'm working on typography. And now we'll come in here, open the markdown file. Since I did a copy paste job there, I can get rid of all of this. Typography. And now let's start with headings. Whoops. All right, so what's a good example of where I can use headings here? Honestly, there isn't a good example. Maybe the best thing to do will be to create like a home page. So if I click on here, oh no, because that just hides and shows the list. So maybe we could create a landing page for our to-do list application, and then that would be a good opportunity for us to play around with maybe layouts and typography as well, because we haven't really covered like Flex-related stuff. So let's come back to our to-do list here. Yeah, so maybe if we switch typography with layout, by the way, I think I'm doing icons at an earlier time. No, we might leave it there. Actually, no, I did move to MDI icons. So I need to move that further up in the to-do list. Yeah, that's where I did icons there, in the icons library section. Cool. So how about we do layouts and then we'll do typography, because that gives me the chance to basically build like a landing page for the application. And that's a common thing that people are going to want to do. So let's start with layouts first. This is going to be tough as well. It's going to be a pretty intense thing to do, teaching layouts. So let's see how that turns out. Layouts. Jump into there. Jump into our markdown file. We've already got that open. Discard. And then we'll change that from typography to layouts. All right, this is good. I'm feeling on top of things now. All right, so I'll minimize that. Instead of minimizing it, I'll just throw it on my bottom screen. Yeah. And I'll probably throw that. Probably will keep it on that side. And now we can start looking at layout stuff. Oh, it's not layouts, is it? Oh, bugger, I've written this wrong. Oh, layout flex. So it is layouts, but specifically it's flex. Yeah, okay, so layouts, and I'll put in parentheses here. Flex. Maybe something else, like just to make it more specific, like columns. It kind of is layout. I don't know, what do they call it in the docs? Layout and grid. They say grid, but it's actually using flex under the hood. So how about we say columns and rows, or maybe like rows and columns. Yeah, something like that. And they got a flex playground as well. That's pretty cool. Can let people know that they can jump in there and have a play around. But anyway, I might start with just a basic. Yeah. I don't even know how I'm gonna start tackling this. I need to keep it in the simplest example possible, and then build up from there. So, how about we say Quasar new page, and then we'll call this landing page. So we're gonna have like a landing page for our app. And how about when you click onto don't, it takes you to the landing page. And first we'll point to it in our routes by copy pasting that down. But this is not going to use the same layout there. It's going to be its own page. So let's come down here. Or maybe I should use this layout. No, because that layout even includes this left menu here. So what I like to do is to have like a blank layout. And maybe we can have no layout at all and just have a page. I don't know. Let's see how that works. Let's say pages, and then say landing page.view, and then we'll set the path. I've actually never done this before. I've never done a page without a layout. So let's see if that works okay. Landing. So let's say slash. Oops, something's going wrong there. Has to start with a slash. All right. There we go. We'll say slash landing here. Whoops, spelled that wrong. All right, we're getting some issues. It looks like a page does want to sit within a layout. So I might just create like a landing page layout. Maybe. Yeah, let's go with that. So we'll say components import layout slash landing layout.view. Maybe something like that. I don't know about that name. Landing layout. So layout for the landing page. It's basically someone who's not authenticated. So we might change this from app layout to like app layout. And maybe change this to like basic layout. No, main layout for the app. Okay, let's try basic here. It's not very specific, but it's because the layout itself is kind of all encompassing. So we'll say Quasar new layout, and we'll call this basic layout. There we go. And now here we're pointing to that basic layout. And then we'll have in here children. And then this will have to be wrapped within an object. Getting a couple of warnings there. If we save that, that should get rid of those warnings. Refresh the page. All right, looks like that's working now. However, we've got a toolbar here. And it's not showing up, so it mustn't be working. Basic layout. Try refreshing the page. Come back here, just throw some crap in there, see if it works. No, it doesn't. Weird. What have I done wrong? Let's try restarting the server. Basic layout. Components, basic layout. Oh, this has got no path, so we'll have to say here path slash, and then if it's slash landing. Let's try that. Weird. All right, let's open up landing page and see what happens when we add some content here. What hath I done wrong? Oh, component, singular. Let's try that. Huh, my bad. All right, cool. So, gosh, we get a lot out of the box here when we create a basic layout. So Let's jump back in there. And I want to remove, honestly, just about everything. So the only thing I want is a toolbar here. So I'm going to grab everything inside of the header. And I only want to have a toolbar. Like that. I don't even want a footer. So let's go ahead and get rid of that footer. Or maybe we will keep the footer. I don't know. Yeah, just to say like some information about the website. So we'll keep that in there. Just in case you want to have, you know, some info about the site. And what have we got here? We've got a draw as well. And we do not want to draw. We might keep the comments in there as well. And we're not going to need any of this stuff. And we'll be using the Options API. Cool. All right, so we've got something really basic. And we might have to go into the layout builder. But anyway, the point of what I want to do now is just to teach them how to use Flex. So let's go into our landing page. And I don't even know how I'm going to do this. I need to keep it as simple as possible. So we'll have a div here that has a class equal to row. And that basically means that we have a row of content that will stretch all the way across. And then we can say div class is equal to col. And then we'll have to do something like this, like background dash blue, and then this one can be, I don't know, blue dash 2. Let's see if we can say full height here. Or maybe we can say class is equal to flex. I think I can do something like that to make it full height. How do they do it in the main page? All right, we've got our main content there, but it looks like the page inside. Okay, so this probably has to be like full width. Yep, there we go. So if we set that to full width, that works. Do I need to put flex on there? I'd rather not. Okay, it looks like I do. Yep, sweet. Man, I need to go to the toilet. Might have to stop the stream and come back in a second. All right, so I basically have to explain how saying column adds another column and evenly distributes them. All right, so let's add another one that says like 8. And there we go. But then what we can do is we can set a ratios for the column, and it goes in groups of 12. I'm not going to explain this very well right now. I'm just sort of like saying it to myself to get used to it. So most people are going to know this concept anyway, so I might sort of breeze over it. But basically, by default, a row has 12 units, so it's 12 units wide. And so if I were to say, for example, let's say we want this first one to cover 2 units. We can say col-2. And now it's going to be distribute it so that it is 2, the ratio is 2 to 12. All right, so my explaining at the moment is terrible, but I'll keep working on it. So then you could say this part takes up a ratio of 4. And then maybe you want this one to also be 2. And that's why we have the extra space now, because this is always going to add up to 12. So now we've got 2 there, 4 there. So 4 plus 2 is 6. Add another 2 is 8. And now 9, 10, 11, 12. If we add a 4 there, all of these numbers now add up to 12. So that should take the full width. Let's see what happens when I do that. Let's change this color to a different blue, maybe 3. And there we go. So this is how we can very easily distribute content. And the reason that they use 12, the number 12, at least one of the reasons, is that it's very divisible. And I'll show you what I mean by that. We can basically say here 6 and 6. and now they are evenly spread out. Or we could do something like this. We could say 4 and 4 and 4. And that means that they're all going to add up to 12 as well. See, there we go. But then we can break it down even more, where you could say, for example, 3, 3, 3, 3, 1, 3, 3, 2, 6, 3, 9, 4, 4. And that also adds up to 12. So let's change that to maybe a 9. Okay, so that's one of the reasons that Flex uses 12, that we're using 12 to distribute our content, because it's so divisible. And then, of course, you've also got 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can have 6 of them now that all have 2. And maybe change this to a different blue. And there we go. It all splits up really, really nicely. And so that's why the column system uses 12 under the hood. It's because it's so divisible and gives you a lot of flexibility over your layout. All right, so another thing I could show then is that if I add 1 and it doesn't add up to 12, let's have a look at what happens. Notice that it then goes on to a new line there. Okay, so basically it's going to add all of these up to 12, right, which is why we end up with all of these fitting in 12. But then we could have another set that are maybe 6 and 6. And let's maybe make these pink. And a different color pink there. And there we go. So we can get some serious control over our layout. However, another thing we can do is say what the type of column is. So we can say, for example, column. So another thing to know is that we have different breakpoints. And the breakpoints that we have in Quasar is extra small. I don't even know what they are. Let's find out. Breakpoints. Looks like it might be in quasar.conf. Nope, it's just telling you can set them there. Break. So let's go into what are the available breakpoints? SM, let's look for that. Here we go. Extra small, small, medium, large, extra large. That's what we've got. Might just record that here. We'll say here extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, which is basically saying that we can say here, for example, so we can say here, for example, if the column is extra small, then I want it to take up maybe 12. So if it's extra small, then I want it to take up the full width. But then you could say, if the column is greater than medium, then I want it to take up 6 units. So now if we make this a little bit bigger, once we hit medium size, so that's a medium size there. Thank you. I don't know what you're saying great job to, because this is just me like messing around, but hey, yeah, I appreciate it. This is this is how I go from having no idea how to explain something into like a really super clean video that actually makes sense to people. And this is going to be an extremely difficult concept, I think, to explain. And I want to explain it relatively quickly, and I need to know how deep to go. That's one of the hard parts as well. Like figuring out how deep do I go into Flex before I'm going too far, because it's such a ridiculously deep topic. Yeah, so anyway, I can then say if it's greater than medium size, then I want you to take up 6 units. So notice now that when it's extra small, we're taking up 12 units, but once we get to the medium point, which in this case is that width there, it's now taking up 6 units. All right, so this is how we can get a very responsive layout. And then we can go further, of course, by using those other breakpoints we talked about, which are medium, large, and extra large. So let's have a look at large now. So if it's greater than large, then maybe it's going to take up even less room, like 3. So I might need to take this out of the flow there. And now have a look here. Now we're in extra small. And now when we go to medium, okay, so now that's a medium size. It gets a little bit smaller. So since it's wider, we can fit more on the screen. And now once we get to a large size, what should change again? And there we go. That's a large size, which is why it's now changed to taking up 3 units of width. And now let's have a look at what it looks like when we say col dash extra large, and maybe we can set that to just 2 units. And I might not actually have enough screen space to show that. So let's try and see if we can get it to that point. I couldn't, however, I've got a screen on my left here. So I might be able to go wider if I bring this down a little bit. Let's try this. There we go, I can. And there we go, that's the extra large size. So you can see that by making it a little bit bigger than my current screen size, it then switches again. So let's have a look at a useful layout using this setup. And then what I might explain to them is like a blog, a really good blog layout. So what would that look like? I'm imagining we might have like for a blog, you might have like a menu on the left and then like a menu on the right. So how about we say here, for example, left menu, and then we have another one, which is the right menu. And then what I'll do is I'll probably teach it by showing, we'll have these different colors here, blue, green, and then we'll have like the content in here. And this is going to have a class that is equal to background dash, I don't know, gray. Let's say gray 2, so that it's noticeable but not too noticeable. Damn it, that didn't work. Div background gray 2. Oh, weird. Emmet seems to screw up when I add another dash there. Huh, that's all right. Let's just do it. Do it manually. Background gray 2. Save that. Yep. All right. Let's do this properly now. This is going to be. These are all going to be columns. And get rid of all of that. And then this one is going to be, just as an example layout, we might have column 2 there. That might also be column 2. And then we've got our main content. So we're basically saying here by not giving it a number, that's going to take up the rest of the space. So it's automatically going to be set there to 8, basically behind the scenes. So it's saying this is taking up 2 units, that's taking up 2 units. And by putting nothing there, we're saying take up whatever space you can. All right, so that's that. And then I'll explain to them, and then I would explain to them how to do this with different sizes. So the way they usually recommend you do it is by going from small and then going up from there. So how about this? We say, yeah, you know what? I'm going to start with extra small so that we're teaching this the right way. So first of all, let's imagine that we're creating a layout for something that is extra small. And in order to do that, first, you would probably want everything just stacking on top of each other. So we could say, for example, column extra small. So if we're using an extra small layout, then we want to take up the full width, which is 12. All right, and we'll do that for all of these. So save that, and notice they're now stacked on each other. So the left menu will now appear on the top, right menu would appear at the bottom, and then you've got your content in the middle there. So then we can say, All right, but if you go to a medium size, all right, so let's change this to medium. Have we got small as well, or is it just extra small? Extra, oh no, we got small as well. Cool. So we might actually change that to small. Yeah, so if it's small, 12. If we go to a medium size, then what we're actually going to do is put this left menu on the left and then the right menu on the right. I might even change those from left menu to something else. So how about we call this menu A, and then menu, whoops, B. All right, and it's going to take up about 3 units of space. And in fact, how about we just introduce the left menu when it's medium, but menu B still takes up the full width. I'll show you what I mean by that. So if we say column, when it's medium, it's 3. The content, when it's medium, it is 9, okay? Because 9 plus 3 equals 12. So those two should take up the full width together. And then underneath here, column, medium, we will have the other menu, which takes up the full width. So I'll show you what that looks like. Let's make this a bit wider. And there we go. That's what happens when we get to a medium size here. All right, so usually you can imagine there'd be more content there. And what it's doing is it's saying, now that we're on medium, this is going to take up 3 out of 12 units, and this is going to take up 9 out of 12 units, which means there's no space left, and so this section is going to take up the rest at the bottom there. In fact, you could probably safely remove that section there, and it will still work. But I like to keep it there just so that it's just to keep things really clear. All right, so let's move this example a bit further. Maybe once we go to a large size, so column large, then we have a menu on the left and the right. So let's say column large, that will be equal to 3. Column large, that will be equal to, what would that be? 6. And then column large, that will be equal to 3 as well. Okay, so let's now make this larger. And now notice we get the menus on either side. So that's pretty cool. Hello, database. How you doing? Nice to have you aboard again. I'm trying to figure out how to teach Flex, and it is freaking hard, if I'm really honest. I'll probably have to do some stuff behind the scenes because this is kind of hard to kind of think through whilst I'm doing a live stream. But I really wanted to try and document my entire process, but I think I'm going to have to do this on my own a bit because I think there's going to be a lot of quiet time, me just sitting there thinking of what to say. It's been a long time coding interfaces in this way, like without libraries or main components. So seeing this relaxed me a lot. No, that's all right. You're not saying weird things at all. I haven't coded. I don't do a lot of interface coding, advanced interface coding like this, to be honest. I still think it's a great way to code, and I actually don't use Grid that much. I still think that, I mean, Grid is cool, but I still think that Flex handles most of my cases, and it does it just fine. So there are times that I probably will end up reaching for Grid, but yeah, for the most part, I'm still just using Flex, to be honest. Anyway, moving on. So now we'll probably want to cover an extra large case as well, just to sort of give a full example to to the listener. So how about we say column, when we get to extra large, I'll do that here as well, extra large, then we're going to set that to 2. Since we've got more room, we can simply make the menu a little bit smaller. And that means this will be equal to 8, I believe that is, and then the other menu will be equal to 2 as well. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so if the size is extra large, then those are the dimensions that we'll use. So save that. And if I make this a little bit bigger by pulling it across to my other screen, which you cannot see, let's try this. Yeah, notice that it's snapped a bit there. So it'll move, the moment I move it, it goes to extra large. So keep an eye on menu B and menu A and look at what happens. Straight away, they get smaller when we get to an extra large size. So as you can see, we can get a lot of functionality, basically a lot of flexibility over our layout. In fact, in extra large, maybe you want this to be 3, but you want your other menu to be really, really small, but then you want this one to be equal to something like, well, actually, that would still be equal to 8. That adds up to 12. 3, 4 plus 8, yeah, is 12. All right, and then notice that we now get that layout as a result. And then if I were to say, for example, well, maybe I want this left menu on extra large to be 2, this one to be super wide, and then this to fill up the rest of the space. I wonder if I can just say column extra large there. What'll that do? Looks like that worked. In fact, you can probably get rid of it entirely. Yeah. But once again, I like to put it in. So 4, 5, 6, and then this will be, and I'm going to use my fingers to count this, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's 6. I still use my fingers to count. I'm not even joking. Yeah, so that's the kind of flexibility we can get with layout using this design. You probably know better than I would. I'm more of a back-end person, but those are the tools that help me learn it personally. Yeah. I would say I'm a back-end and a front-end person, with the exception of CSS. I say this all the time. I absolutely hate CSS. I hate writing it. It's not where I want to spend my time, which is why I love having something like Quasar that basically writes all that crap for me, so I can just focus on the stuff that I care about. But hey, some people love styling, and the cool thing about Quasar is you can easily flatten things and like basically get rid of the material design feel if you like. All right, so I'm definitely going to have to solidify my thoughts there. So what I might do is, copy paste this because I kind of like that example. Might even go one step further and copy paste that. And how about we say here, blog layout. Oops. And that is a view file. Yeah, so that's an example of that'll be an example of a blog layout. What's another good layout that we could give an example of? Another thing I could show is what you can actually do is if you want to have a fixed width on your left menu, there's no reason you couldn't do something like this. I don't even know if this will work. I'm pretty sure it will. We can set a width on this to something like 300 pixels. So if you want that to always be 300 pixels wide, I think you can say width 300 pixels. Let's set these to column, for example. I think you could say here class is equal to column. I love how Beautify uses Flexbox but makes it look like a grid system. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't checked that out, to be honest. I think one of the hard things with Quasar now is the backwards compatibility. So they want to make sure they're backwards compatible, but honestly, these days, most people I think are going to move to grid, and you probably don't actually need any CSS helpers in order to do grid, because it's so raw. And it's so sort of like you can get exactly what you need with such little code. I'm not entirely sure that we're even going to need to have utility classes. You'll be able to do stuff in like style tags. Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe we will end up with some utility classes for grid. But yeah, I'd be reluctant to add them, and I think the team probably would be too. I don't know. I haven't asked them, to be honest, but it's one of those things where it's like, do we add extra utility classes when it's so ridiculously simple to do using like inline tags like this? I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is, but yeah. Anyway. All right. What else can I do here? Yeah, so now what I want to experiment with is I want to see if I can set a width on this and maybe say like full height here. I'm going to start just playing around and see if I can get it to work. Oh, I got rid of the colors. That's why this isn't working properly. Bugger. Okay, let's go back to that original example. And I want to keep all of those colors. Let's get rid of that. See what that does. Yeah, so now can I say here style is equal to width 300 pixels. Yep, and now let's say here column dash, or just column. Whoops. Don't get rid of the colors. I just made the same mistake again. Column and column. So let's have a look at that. I think that worked. 300 might have been a bad example. Let's try 150 there. Yeah, so the cool thing about this, I could explain, is that now you can have a set width for your left menu, but then the rest of the space is automatically going to be filled up and evenly distributed. What happens if I say column dash 6 here and column dash 6 there? I think that won't work. Yeah, so that ends up going over. The problem is it then makes it hard to do stuff like this. So then you could say, for example, this is going to be a column. Yeah, I guess you change it based on the size. What is your role with Quasar? I am the content creator. I do all of the content not all of the content. I mean, there's other content creators as well, but that's my role. So if you go to quasarcast.com, this is my website. And basically, I do videos that teach you how to do Quasar stuff. The sort of like the biggest series that I've created at the moment is the Quasar component series. If you jump into that. But currently, that's using the older version of Quasar. And every single one of these videos, not older, the current version of Quasar, but we're about to move to the next version, so I'm going to have to redo a lot of these videos. But honestly, the API is pretty much the same. But yeah, if you want like in-depth analysis, like if you want an in-depth explanation of all of the components, I didn't get through all of them. I got up through to field in alphabetical order. All of these videos literally cover the entire API. So that's kind of cool. I'm pretty proud of that. And I also do like podcasts, and I also run the Quasar show. So that's the latest episode of the Quasar show, episode 3. But the Quasar show is going to be, I haven't announced this yet, but the Quasar show soon is going to be split up into smaller videos. Like, you know, we'll have like a UI, we'll cover like a UI every week. And we'll cover like a corner of the docs section every week where we talk about like parts of the docs most people don't know about. So that's my plan with that in the future. But yeah, this is what I do. I run quasarcast.com. I currently have the Quasar Live podcast running, and these 2 podcasts are going to be released soon. Quasar News, I'll talk about the latest Quasar news, obviously. And then Quasar Devs are going to be interviews with people in the Quasar community. So that's kind of my role. This site kind of like runs through my entire role at Quasar. Yeah. Anywho, moving on. I might even just go through this introduction. I have a lot of Quasar questions I'd love to ask you about when you're doing a less theme-specific stream sometime. I'm open to leave Beautify for Quasar, but I have some edge case questions. Dude, honestly, just ask me them now. I'm probably, yeah, like I'm probably going to cover this kind of stuff. I'm probably going to cover it on my own simply because it's a little bit hard to discuss in a live stream. Like I said, I feel like I need to kind of sit and think about a lot of these things. I might even go through the docs and basically explain things in the order that they explain them in the docs, because it looks like this is extremely well thought out. I really love the way that Jeffrey describes Flexbox, so I might even get a bit of inspiration from him without blatantly copying him, of course, but yeah, you get the idea. Let's jump into layouts. I don't think they do any Flex-related stuff in any other parts of the docs. And we could probably split this into 2 videos, I think. Yeah, I reckon we could. All right, so new strategy. I'm basically going to go through this and think of how I can discuss this in the concept of creating like a blog. So line to space. Do they cover gutter here? Yeah, they do. They even cover gutter. Oh, these are different pages though, aren't they? Oh crap! So this is actually a lot of content. So I really am going to have to decide on some patterns. I can't just cover the entire thing. Ah, crap. All right. So we need to have a container and items. Okay, so first of all, you have a direction. And we will probably just cover row and column. All right, so don't know if I'll probably keep that there for now, but I think I'm probably going to end up deleting that. So let's start by talking about flex directions, and we've got row, and we've got column. The big one is how well it works across different types of apps and different frameworks. SSR, SPA, PWAs, SFC, single file component. Is it good for any type of app or project type? Yes. So let me give you an example of this. This is a great question. So it really has been built from the ground up to think about, to export to all different platforms. So let's say, for example, Quasar dev, if we just set here mode is equal to Electron, since I am using the beta, I'm not sure if we're going to hit any problems. And are the data tables any good? The data, okay, well, I honestly mean this when I say this. The data tables in Quasar are absolutely, I almost swore, absolutely effing insane. They are so freaking good. And look, here's one of the great things about Quasar, all right? This is one of the big sells for me. The component library is ridiculously flexible. Every single one of these components has been very carefully handcrafted to work beautifully. Hang on, I'm not explaining this very well. Every single one of these components work really, really easily if you're just getting started. So for example, the data table, also they've got the markup table if you want to do a very basic one. But check this out, I think it's just called Q table. Oh, okay, so there's my Electron app. I'm now developing an Electron app. And it all works the exact same. It just works. I didn't do any extra work in order to get that going. But here's the other thing, right? If I want to tap into my Electron code, I've now got this source Electron directory where I can do all of stuff like in main.js and all of the stuff in preload.js, right? So you can easily hook into Electron specific code. But it gets better. On top of that, Quasar gives you a lot of helpers so that you can target different platforms. So most of your code is going to sit in the source directory, and you can very, very easily run things based on what platform you're on. So if I say, for example, on landing page, let's say, how about we say mounted, and we console.log this.$Q. I'm going to have to go back into normal dev mode, Quasar dev. So by default, it'll do an SPA. Recently, they actually released middleware for SSR, which is super cool. It just makes it easier to add middleware-based logic to your server-side rendered applications. And by the way, what you can totally do if you want is have one application code that serves SSR and a PWA. Like that kind of thing with Quasar is totally possible. So you can have one part of your website, which is SSR, which is focused on serving up something really fast, like a landing page. But then the app itself might be a PWA application, where the SEO doesn't matter as much and doesn't have to be, you can focus more on building the kind of logic that is more application specific, that doesn't work as well with an SSR application. So I reckon that's really cool. Let's refresh this page here. Oh, yes, that's fine. I'm just in dev mode. Proceed. So check this out. On $Q here, I've got like this sort of global Quasar object. We can go into platform and learn a whole bunch of stuff about the platform, but I think we can even check if we are on Electron. How do I do that? I think there's a way that you can check. But anyway, you get the point. You can see if you're on desktop, Chrome, like you have all of this platform specific stuff, even stuff related to the screen. So if you jump into screen here, you can very easily target the different screen sizes. Sorry, 2 more questions. Is it always going to be Vue specific? I'd love to use the same component library across React or Vue. Tailwind, for example. I don't see what you mean by Tailwind, for example, because Tailwind is kind of different to React and Vue. But it is Vue specific. So it kind of has to be tightly coupled to Vue, because when you think about it, all of the UI, it's all Vue related stuff. Like we're doing things in the Vue way. To recreate this entire framework for React would just be, frankly, an unnecessary overhead. But it is a good question, because I know something like, oh, okay, so when you say Tailwind, you mean how you've got Tailwind UI. I think that's what you mean. Yeah, but Quasar, a lot of the benefit you get from Quasar is because it's so tightly coupled to Vue. Oh, can they only do 140 characters at once? Geez, that's not very generous. We'll have to think of a different streaming platform if we want to have like a Q&A in the future. But yeah, these are great questions. But I wanted to mention more, I think. So yeah, targeting different platforms. I wanted to mention that that's super easy. And it's also super easy to do it within your code. Like there's all this Webpack related stuff that allows you to very easily target different platforms. But I wanted to just mention the API for these different things like Qtable, for example. So let's jump into Qtable. Is insane. You'll notice that the docs is kind of scary because there's frankly just a shit ton of stuff that you can do. But they've even got stuff like virtual scrolling. So notice that as I scroll down here, it gets that little sort of like loading stuff if I do it really quickly. So it only renders things as you scroll. So if you're scrolling like large amounts of data, virtual scrolling is handled for you. Slots, it's got slots for everything. Honestly, this is insane. You can tap into a slot for a row, for example, if you want to tap into every single row, or if you want to tap into things by cell, you've even got cell slots. So if we go into, I think we've got like cell dash, we can say like body cell. So you can say, for example, I want to tap into the calorie cell, and you can just change that. So here they've just tapped into the dessert cell, and now you can use every single other component within this Quasar table component by tapping into those slots. But if you want, you can tap onto it by the entire row, or you can tap into the entire header to change the way that works. The slotting in Qtable, and frankly, every single component in the entirety of Quasar is absolutely insane. I honestly can't get over it. I've been working with Quasar for over 3.5 years with a project at work, and never have I once had to build a component myself from scratch because the component library is so ridiculously in-depth and flexible. And by the way, just check out this Quasar calendar. There's also Q calendar. I love that individual cell bit. That's not wow. Beautify doesn't let you dive into individual cells. I gotta admit, that's kind of crazy to me, but I don't know. Maybe I don't understand the project as well, so I probably shouldn't say that. I don't understand what their what their scope is. But yeah, if we go to interactive demo here, I mean, you've also got the Q calendar component, which was created by someone in the Quasar community, and this component is absolutely insane. I work for a farm company, and we created a calendar component for collecting rainfall. And we were very easily able to pull in this component and just have an input for every cell. So if we go to month view here, basically every cell for us was just an input. And so we could just make it so that you input the rainfall for each individual cell. It's so cool. But okay, it gets better. Honestly, I'm only scratching the surface here. Quasar extensions allow you to change every single aspect of the Quasar application. You can hook into Webpack. You can extend components. You can hook into the boot file. You can even hook into routes. So I have a Quasar extension at work that handles my what am I talking about? My authentication for all of my applications. So I always authenticate things the same way using Laravel. We actually use Laravel Passport, but sometimes I use Laravel Sanctum as well. So I have a Quasar extension for Laravel Sanctum that handles all of my routing. It's got its own component for the login page. It's got its own component for the forms for the login. So I can basically just whack the login form throughout my entire application wherever I want it to be. And all of that functionality sits within a Quasar extension I created myself. So Quasar extensions, once you learn about app extensions, first you want to understand the entire framework first. The Quasar app extensions are just insane. I can extend every single aspect of the app and then use that code in other apps, which means that Quasar scales insanely well. Okay, here's another one. An app extension can be used to create component libraries. So the way that I create apps now is I will have an app extension library of components. So for example, I might have a login component, or I might have a component. Oh gosh, I don't even know, for like my base components, like my dialog buttons. And then I can have a whole bunch of mini apps, which is what we do at work because we're a data collection company. And all of those mini apps can pull from my data component extension. So the reusability with Quasar is just insanely good. So I'm obsessed with this framework. And honestly, it makes me sad. I think Vuetify is really cool. I've played around with it a little bit in the past. But it makes me sad that Quasar hasn't quite got the traction that it deserves yet, because a lot of the problems people run into with Vuetify are actually solved in the Quasar framework. And the other thing I love about it is it gives, even though it's tiny out of the box, so when you first create a Quasar application, you end up with a tiny file, you have a shit ton of extra bits and pieces that are available to you out of the box. I'll give you an example. Quasar utilities. You have things like the Quasar date utilities, which are, if you don't want to have something like Moment.js and Day.js, which have that insane overhead, basically Quasar was like, the guy who created it was like, hey, I don't actually see anything available that is better than this. And so he went ahead and just created his own date utility library, and it's freaking amazing. And so basically, if you just want to use the add to date functionality, you can pull that out of Quasar's date object, and it's going to tree shake it. So you're only grabbing the stuff that you actually need. And so I know there are other things like Day.js, which are kind of trying to solve this problem, but this does it the Quasar way, and you know that it's going to work on other platforms. Same with color utilities, DOM utilities, morph utilities, which is insanely cool. Morph utilities can do some crazy stuff, right? Stuff like this. Man, I love Quasar's morph. It's basically like a bunch of free animation with like half of the work. Really, really cool. Formatter utilities. I haven't even looked into this. This is really cool. Yeah, stuff for like capitalizing stuff. And so it gives you a full developer experience. You're right. I just haven't been exposed to Quasar enough to appreciate it. Yeah, and this is one of the avenues that I want to cover. I want to be able to create a full Getting Started series. This is why I'm doing this Getting Started series, that people can watch and be like, holy crap, Quasar has got so much to offer. However, it is easy to use and tiny out of the box. And to me, that's what makes a great framework. This is what I love about Laravel. The fact that Laravel has got a shit ton of functionality available to you, but you don't have to use it. It's got all of these, Quasar's got all of these sensible defaults, but you pull it in as you need it. Scrolling utilities, oh my god, it's like insane. But anyway, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. I love geeking out on Quasar related stuff. Oh, by the way, great place to look around if you just want to have a look at what Quasar's got is the API Explorer. This is new in the Quasar beta docs. By the way, we're about to go out of beta into version 2, so that's why I spend most of my time in the beta docs in the next Quasar docs. But if you click on the drop down here, you can now look at the API for any component. It's so cool. So let's say we want to look at the Q tooltip. We can just say Q tooltip, jump into that, and there's the entire API for the tooltip component displayed in a beautiful way. We can view the slots and events, methods. It's very well organized. But then we can click here to just jump straight into the docs. Boom, we're at the tooltip docs. I love it. I think they've absolutely nailed it with the docs, and I think the framework is insane. I just think that people get a little bit scared off by the breadth of Quasar, but it just walks that line beautifully of giving you everything, by giving you the bare minimum when you first build your file, but then giving you like this massive array of stuff, and it exports to every single platform. Like, it's just amazing. Speaking strictly from my perspective, I'm a Node developer. I have never clicked on a single video with Laravel in the title. Yeah, that's fine. Has the team been focusing on? No. So this is really important. Quasar is backend agnostic. Where even SSR, I'm pretty sure, is backend agnostic. Like, you've actually got a bit of power over how you do SSR as well. But if you want to use Express, if you just want to use pure Node, if you want to use whatever the hell you want, that's totally fine. I like Laravel, so I tend to do a lot of Laravel dev. But my plan down the line is to basically do this getting started guide, just focusing on Quasar as a front-end framework. And then when we finish the front-end stuff, I'm going to branch off the series into things like, this is how you do stuff with Quasar at Node, and Laravel, and Express, and whatever other frameworks are super popular at the time. GraphQL, I'll choose like a GraphQL framework as well. So yeah, I love it. And the helper classes are insane as well. I have never felt the need to grab something like Tailwind. If you want, you can grab it and use it in Quasar. Frankly, personally, I've never had a legitimate reason to do it. But some people like to have ridiculous control over their design, in which case it's like, yeah, fine. Sorry, excuse me, just burped to myself. In that case, it's like, fine, reach for something like Tailwind. You can if you'd like. But the utility classes, you need to at least check out Quasar's utility classes, because they are super helpful. So stuff like the spacing. Let's go ahead and find spacing. Yeah, it's got all your stuff like paddings and margining and all that kind of stuff out of the box. And if you really want to go ahead and use something like Tailwind, then you can figure that out. But yeah, I just love what I get out of the box for free, and I've never felt the need for something more. So yeah, that's kind of my shtick on Quasar. And the last thing I really should mention is Quasar CLI gives you a lot of this functionality out of the box. However, if you want to include it in an already running project, you can use UMD mode, which means that you can pull in the components sort of individually. You can just include it in the header of your app, and then you can go ahead and just start using Quasar. There's UMD mode as well, and there's Vue CLI mode as well, if you want to start using Quasar in your existing CLI application or whatever. So a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people think they need to go all in with the CLI. And if you're starting a new project, absolutely use the CLI, because it gives you a crap ton of functionality for free. But there's no reason you can't just use it as UMD or, like a standalone mode. So, it's got these 3 different options as well. So, yeah, I'm obsessed with it. Thanks for the enthusiasm. I love someone who really loves their domain. It makes it exciting. Yeah, and it's a bloody exciting framework. I really believe that, and I can't get over it. And so, this is why I'm spending my weekends or my mornings. So I've got work today, but I like to wake up early and spend my mornings talking about this stuff and working on this getting started guide, which I got distracted from, but that's totally fine, because I love geeking out and letting people know what I love about Quasar. So yeah, I think I might leave it there, because like I was saying before, I think this Flexbox stuff is something I need to figure out on my own. I'm finding it hard to do it in a live context. So I'll figure that out, and then I might go live and then sort of like show what I came up with in the end in my next live, and sort of push ahead with that. But yeah, we're going well. So this is I've already sort of figured out what I'm going to do with, let's just do a recap of where we're at. I've already figured out how I'm going to cover all of this stuff in the to-do app we're going to be creating. That's the part I'm trying to cover now, sort of layout and typography. Then we'll and then I'm going to cover exporting to different platforms, which will be fun because it's super easy, and it'll be awesome to show people, hey, you've just created this to-do app. By the way, now it can be an SPA, an SSR app, a PWA that they can install on their phone or on their desktop. It can be an Electron app. And then later on, we'll show how you can like convert it to a mobile app using something like Cordova or whatever, you know, the cool peeps are using these days. A BEX app, so you can make it a browser extension and all that kind of cool stuff. And then we can cover, once we've done exporting, I could be like, hey, by the way, this is how you target these different platforms that you just exported to. And then I'm going to quickly like cover the API Explorer. SSR, we need to cover middleware at some point. And then, of course, how to install app extensions like the icon picker. And there's just so many app extensions I'm super excited about. And then this is the kind of more, you know, kind of extra stuff, I guess you would call it, which, you know, Quasar has to offer. But you only need this stuff to sort of like get started and up and running. But then I can be like, hey, by the way, we've got a crap ton of other exciting things that you can play around with. And then once all that's done, I'm then going to try and I'll cover these frameworks first. So Laravel, Firebase, Feathers, GraphQL, and Express. If you're a Node user, because you said database that you're a Node user, you probably don't need me to cover Node. I'm guessing that someone who uses raw Node is pretty cluey and knows how to, you know, integrate what they're building with a backend. Because if you know how to integrate a normal Vue project with a backend, then you can do it with Quasar as well. Yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed this stream as much as I enjoyed making it for you. And hey, if you love this kind of stuff, if you love Quasar videos, check out quasarcast.com. And if you just want to learn about it, then I highly recommend jumping into just the Quasar Getting Started guide to begin with. I basically run you through everything you need to know to get up and running fast with Quasar. How long does it go for? It's like, it's a 12-minute video, and it's a pretty in-depth look at how you can get up and running with Quasar. After you've watched this video, you'll have a good understanding of how you can then start building applications. And from there, I would recommend just going to the Quasar docs and looking at the components and just go to town on playing with those components. They are so much fun. And learn how to use slots with the components. Learn how to use all of the different types of props. And I guarantee that once you spend a bit of time there, your brain will explode with excitement. And like me, you will be addicted to Quasar for life. So thank you so much for watching this stream. I'll see you in the next one.